I wish my dad just asked me how I was doing.
Beep boop, son. Beep boop.
Serious teen girls of Reddit, what can your father do to help you open up and talk to him about your life, emotions, and problems?
He got honest, opened up to me first. It kinda broke down that barrier of how you think your parents are superhuman, haven't experienced things. Told me about how he was upset about something, definitely made it easy to get honest with him.
This was what I was going to say. If you want someone to trust you, no matter their age or sex, open up about a time when you felt scared or vulnerable, or a time when you did something wrong.
When I was in high school, I was very depressed. My dad once came into my room and sat on my bed while I was cleaning. "Have you ever thought about killing yourself?" he asked. I was a little shocked by the question. I had, but I didn't want to worry him, so I turned the question back on him. "Have you?" "Yes," he replied, and told me all about he was bullied in school. How he felt alone. How he got through it. He didn't push me to talk about myself. He opened up about himself and his vulnerabilities in a way that completely changed our relationship. I'll never forget that moment and how much it meant to me. A hand reaching out when I felt like my pain was invisible. It's not about being the perfect parent, it's about revealing your humanity and just being there to be patient and listen. He is my closest confidant to this day. Love that man.
So I turned the question back on him. Have you? Don't underestimate your part. Many teenagers would just say no and kill the conversation right there. Your dad took the first step, but you followed right behind him. Sounds like you both are contributors to the strong relationship you have, and you both should be proud.
Was a teen girl not that long ago. The advice I can offer from my personal experience is firstly, provide a safe environment for healthy emotional expression. Build trust by maintaining confidentiality. This doesn't mean keep every single secret, as some secrets are dangerous to one or all parties involved. But she will not continue to express herself deeply unless she can be assured that the information will stay where, and with whom it's been said, so long as there is no danger of immediate harm or foul play. Be supportive, and not in just the "go get your dreams" kid sense. Support her when she's in the throes of high school drama, when she feels overwhelmed and can't see an end in sight, when she finds a boy to share her time with, and eventually when that boy breaks her heart. Open up about yourself with her as well. Show her that you're not just dad, but you are a person who's rode out those angsty teen years too. You've made mistakes, you've dealt with drama, you've been overwhelmed and nearly given up, you've loved and lost, etc. Of course, you cannot force her to open up all at once. It is a slow development to build a new relationship like that. However, the aforementioned can help lay the foundation for her to feel comfortable expressing herself and her life experiences with you.
Technically I'm a year late, but from my experience, don't force it. Asking how her day was or what she's doing is fine and dandy, just don't hover and ask it every second. If you express interest but don't push, she may come to you. Also, please don't make fun of the stuff she enjoys. It hurts so much. Even if she's into the cringiest, most annoying, most total garbage, how can anyone like this thing? Don't make fun of it. Don't poke jokes about shows she likes, or groan with irritation at the songs she listens to. That is a surefire absolute way to make sure she never wants to share anything with you. This goes double or triple for emotions. Don't belittle her bad days or her feeling sad, even if it's about something that's trivial to you. If she opens up a little and you respond kindly without judgment, she may open up again.
My father had sole custody after the divorce. He had to figure out parenting angles that no one had prepared him to fill. Overall, he adapted quite well. A few things I wish had done differently. Some of these examples will show my age. Life experience has its advantages when writing this type of summary. Let's start with things he aced. Life goals guidance. He found resources that seemed useful and put the decision in my hands. For example, he found out a local university was hosting a public lecture series and asked whether I'd like to try it. We ended up getting 2 years of season tickets. I saw Jane Goodall, Mary Lakey, and Diane Fossey speak in person. Dad and I saw Walter Alvarez explain the impact theory hypothesis before the discovery of the Chicxulub crater, then after the lecture we went out for pizza and discussed the presentation. I was more persuaded than Dad was, yet he treated my opinion with respect. If you want to steer your daughter from a passing interest in dinosaurs toward real career goals in science and technology while building rapport with her, then he's the example to follow. Shopping. Society inundates girls with marketing and inundates fathers with worries, both of which focus on the girl's physical appearance. Dad's solution was straightforward: set a monthly budget for clothes and personal grooming. The rest was up to me. The only rules he set were to ban fragranced products because he had allergies. Some of my choices were frivolous, but he thought it taught responsibility to delegate this. It did. It also avoided a variety of conflicts. Physical fitness. I took an interest in lifting weights at age 15. Dad paid for the membership, made sure I had proper equipment, and dropped me off at the gym 3 times a week. Although I didn't make a lifelong habit of that, it's had lifelong benefits because I kept with it long enough to reach the threshold where, when I do take up a sport, my strength rebuilds 4 times faster than the strength gain of someone who had never weight trained on a regular schedule. Dad and I also had a lot of great conversations during those drives to and from the gym. Here are things I wish he'd done differently. Reflexive overprotectiveness. Whenever the local news reported a string of rapes, I wasn't allowed outdoors after school until Dad came home. It didn't matter if all of the incidents clustered on one town an hour's drive away. This disrupted my activities on a regular basis with minimal benefit. After a while I realized Dad wasn't actively checking out the news every day. When there was a crime spree in another county, I could keep a measure of freedom by turning off the TV before Dad came home. So one day when a grown man actually molested me, I dealt with that situation myself. Dad had convinced me his reaction would be over the top, hugely inconvenient, and completely ineffectual, and Dad went to his grave never knowing. Menstruation. Dad thought it was his duty to have the talk, and he went through it as best he could. I'm grateful he tried. It was super awkward and not useful. Pro tip: delegate this. Dad's talk was at the level of periods are a thing. Your body is changing. Health class was this is a typical cycle. Grandma's information was in our family it's closer to a 30-day cycle with spotting on days 6 and 7. This is how many panty liners are needed on a typical day 6, and this is how to get the stain out of your clothes when there's a mishap. I only wish I had gotten in touch with her sooner before a few embarrassing mishaps. Bring in someone who has practical knowledge, preferably a relative, because cycle traits run in families.
Dad had convinced me his reaction would be over the top, hugely inconvenient, and completely ineffectual, and Dad went to his grave never knowing. Serious question, and sorry if this is insensitive to ask what reaction would be appropriate, more convenient, and effective in that situation had you told your father?
I'm not op, but usually what survivors want in most trauma situations is comfort and safety first. Just listen and don't try to fix it. Let the person come to terms with what happened. Maybe suggest professional counseling if they're willing, but basically the worst thing a person can do is add stress. Insisting on going to the police, prying for more information so you can take vigilante justice, acting outraged, angry, sad, anything that will make the person feel like they now need to comfort, temper you, is really bad. There isn't one cookie-cutter response. Everyone will need something different. I have 2 different friends who were sexually assaulted and had very different reactions. One wanted to talk about it all the time, so I was there to listen and commiserate. When she asked for advice, I offered it, but I didn't try to offer advice if she didn't want it. My other friend told me about it and then wanted to forget about it. For a few weeks we hung out every day but just pretended like it didn't happen. She seemed understandably different than before the assault, so I suggested talking to a professional. I gave her a list of therapists who specialize in PTSD and left it at that. It's her choice how to live her life, and if I were in her position, I know the worst thing someone could do would be to take my agency away again. All that said, I'm not an expert. I think the main thing is to listen.
I'm currently 17 and find it difficult to talk to my dad about personal issues. What it always came down to was a fear of disappointing my dad. For years I've always held things in because I didn't want him to judge me. I loved him a lot and didn't want him to say hurtful things to me. However, last year, when I took 2 AP exams and got low scores, I felt very disappointed in myself and decided to text my dad about how sorry I was for slacking off in my studies. He has expressed how much he values my education in the past, so I felt that he would feel disappointed. But, instead of lecturing me or saying that I wasn't making an effort, he said, "As long as you tried, you could never disappoint me." I burst into tears when I realized that I was the one imposing such high standards on myself. I realized that he just didn't want me to regret my childhood and education. Since then I've been more open about personal issues, but since my fears and personality quirks have already been developed, it's still pretty hard for me. Make sure your daughter knows how much you care for her, and that no matter how she turns out, you will still love her. If you want her to approach you more often, regularly ask simple questions like, "How was your day?" or "How awful was school today?" and it might lead to her opening up about something deeper.
Sometimes I'll be excited to try out for something at school. My dad will be encouraging all the way. But when I fail, he is silently disappointed and sad. He doesn't say it to me, but he'll tell my mum while he thinks I'm sleeping. So I just stopped telling him, so he wouldn't be disappointed anymore. I'd tell him more about my life and problems if it weren't saddening for him.
Are you sure he's disappointed over you, not for you? There's nothing harder than watching your kids go through heartbreak and you shouldn't fix it for them. What do you think his disapproval might be? Him just feeling really sad things didn't work out for you?
That's my takeaway too. I guess we're not there, but seems like a strange way to interpret his reactions just based off that comment. Doesn't seem like Asian dad disappointment. I can't believe you didn't get straight A's, and more like damn, wish I could do something.
I'm no longer a teen, but here's what I would have answered if I found this 10 years ago. I wish my dad just asked me how I was doing. Like, really just asked. It was hard opening up to someone who always forbade things, hit us when he got mad, goes to work in the morning before we woke up, and comes home late just as we were sleeping. Sure, he loved his career, but it came at the expense of never really sitting down to talk to us as a loving parent. He might have asked about our grades, school, and church, but you feel like he's just asking those things to check if we're following the rules. So, we never really had a meaningful conversation. I never talked to him about the boys I loved, the heartaches I felt, the insecurities that ripped me from the inside. I never had a meaningful relationship with my father. As an authority figure, all he did was impose rules and made sure we followed the book. He was a Christian minister, by the way. We're now estranged. I don't think I'll see him again.
Former teen girl, my favorite memories with my dad from that time are when he'd just take me with him to do stuff. He took me to check out motorcycles, would invite me to come to breakfast with him, ask for my help Christmas shopping for mom, etc. We had easier conversations in the car or on a walk than face-to-face. He also often pointed out some current event and asked me what I thought of it, then actually discussed it with me like I was an adult. This was excellent practice for me to think critically about how and why I chose positions on topics, and to disagree with people who were bigger and louder than me in a safe environment. I think all young girls need to practice this skill and have the important experience of having the older men in their life respect their thoughts and disagreements. I didn't tell him everything that was going on in my life because I didn't really want or need his opinion on my love life or my friendships with other girls. And now that I'm an adult woman, he still doesn't have that much to offer on those fronts, honestly. All I needed was to see him treating my mother like an equal and pulling his weight around the house, which he did. One thing he did wrong, although he never criticized me or my mother in a sexist way, he sometimes did talk about other women that way in my hearing. Talking about women's bodies, their annoying voices, calling certain women vapid or treating feminine qualities as lesser. He would tell me I was better than those types of women. This just made me tell him less and less about myself over time, to avoid his judgment.